Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Broads. It feels like the last time the Eagles played a football game, it was 1652. Finally, I could wake up, have this nice cup of coffee, and I can see the nice heat coming up off the mug. I could wake up with the cup of joe and go, tomorrow, home playoff game, Lincoln Financial Field. A.J. Brown has the chills just thinking about it. Jalen Hurts, is going to dominate. This is beautiful, and I can't wait. 8:15 kickoff. I need it in my blood. The question becomes, when you think of this matchup, hold on a second. I can't just mention the coffee without taking a sip, so just bear with me. Oh, man, we're going to do that again. Yes, we are. Throughout the show, of course. Anyway, I think one big spot to look at with this game is how are the Giants going to attack the Eagles' offense? So with their defense, what are they going to do? Now, in theory, blitz, bring pressure. We know that's something that's part of their DNA. With that said, they didn't finish the regular season off with an obnoxious amount of success. And what you saw them do against Minnesota was a bit different. So, do they try and get a little bit different? Like, if you're not winning a lot of games, which they weren't down the stretch, that's why I laugh when I hear that the Giants are a hot team. You're seeing the Giants at the wrong time. No, they won a playoff game. That's what happens when you have a bye week and you're waiting for your opponent. You're going to play a team that won a football game. It was a nice road playoff game for the Giants, but to say they are some burning hot team, you know who's a hot team? The San Francisco 49ers, who just rolled week after week. That is what a hot team is. I digress. They weren't destroying opponents with this heavy concept of what they were doing defensively. So they mixed things up a bit. If they were to blitz Jalen Hurts, I feel comfortable with that because he makes great decisions with the football. He doesn't really turn the ball over a bunch. That's something that's been a strength with this team when they were doing their thing. Making sure your squad keeps the football in their possession. But this is where things get interesting because Dexter Lawrence showed up and he balled out. Is he going to be able to have the same level of success against this offensive line? And if he doesn't, is that when the Giants have to rely on some sort of manufacturing that pressure, which then opens up the door again for the Eagles to take advantage of that, which, once again, I like that matchup with Jalen Hurts having the football in his hands. And if I have to answer that question right now, knowing the dominance of what this offensive line is, I believe that while Dexter Lawrence is a good player and he might have a moment or so, at the end of the game, we'll go, yep, the Eagles won that one. Now, let's speak edge rushers. Lane Johnson coming back from the injury. 2 weeks ago, I thought it was automatic that Lane Johnson would try, and then at some point, Jack Driscoll would have to take the spot. I don't necessarily feel that way anymore. He claimed that playing with the ankle that he played with in previous years was significantly more painful to play than what he's dealing with right now. So we'll see. I have more confidence that he'll be able to stand upright. The bar for Lane Johnson is you're not allowed past him at all, and you won't record a sack whatsoever. If this happens to be 75, 80% Lane Johnson, which means maybe one sack happens, well, you live with that. I'm fascinated to see what he looks like, and I'm sure after a series or two, I'll be like, okay, I'm comfortable again, because Lane Johnson just seems to be the opposite of human being. His body functions at a completely different pace than every other normal human in the history of planet Earth. Ultimately, knowing what the Giants did against Minnesota, I'd have to imagine that they try and duplicate some version of that and they don't just send the house and go extra aggressive. But if they do, because they want to try and get to the quarterback and maybe hit him a couple times and make his shoulder feel a little bit of some soreness and some pain, because everyone's aware that that's a part of the Jalen Hurts story right now, Eagles are going to win. Eagles will take advantage. Get the ball to Dallas Goedert. Look at Hawkinson's numbers last week. 10 receptions, 120-plus yards. I believe the Giants finished somewhere around 24th, 23rd, 22nd in the league in regards to tight ends doing some damage against them. So that's absolutely going to happen. But A.J. Brown, get the ball quick to him, slant, let him go to work. I heard Tim McManus do a hit on ESPN, and he was talking about what some of the players have been saying at the NovaCare complex leading up to the big game. And A.J. Brown is basically losing sleep at night, thinking about how electric the Link is going to be on Saturday night. And then I got the chills, thinking about A.J. Brown having the chills, and thinking about that place going nuts. Nuts. Get a couple cold ones down at around, I'd say noon, but maybe let's push that to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock so you make it to the game. I feel so good about this team because whatever the Giants want to do defensively, whichever way they go, I think the Eagles have the counter for it. You're going to see a Jalen Hurts that's willing to run. You're going to need that to be successful in the postseason, and I'm sure they're aware of that. I guess, offensively, you can ask the question, do you think they're going to try and be extra explosive in the passing game, or will they be more willing to settle down to Miles Sanders, some options, Jalen Hurts, make the decision, read and react? We've seen, at times, Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni sometimes get away from that and get pass happy. It seems we say that about a lot of coaches in this league. But are they willing to open up the game and instead of trying to find A.J. Brown, trying to find Devontae Smith, just establish a good, solid 6-minute drive, run the football, let Lane Johnson get a bit comfortable, use the run game and the run blocking from your offensive line? Miles Sanders had a fantastic day when these two teams met their first time. The second time, there's really not much to it. I know Giants fans are trying to convince themselves that it was close with their second and third stringers, but you didn't see a playbook that was what you're going to see on Saturday night. That wasn't the full playbook of a healthy Jalen Hurts. You're going to wait and see. The red zone, it's night and day from whatever you saw week 18. Now give me another second because I need a cup of Joe. A nice Starbucks K-Cup. Nice and simple today. Sometimes I like to go K-Cup. Sometimes I like to make my own pot. It all depends on the morning. Today, hit the button. It's a little bit easier. Eagles defensively. Okay, you have an opportunity with their right tackle to make some noise. You can get to Daniel Jones. Does Daniel Jones have enough power to beat you with his legs? I don't think so. Not over the long haul. Just like with Dexter Lawrence, will there be a play where Daniel Jones gets a backbreaker on 2nd and 15, maybe after a sack? Or after a loss of yards? It can happen. But over the longevity of the entire football game, do I think Daniel Jones can duplicate what he did against Minnesota? And the answer is no. The Minnesota Vikings defense, this is me being objective, I swear to you, blows. The Eagles defense, when Gannon allows for them to play a certain style, goes to town. So that becomes the ultimate question on the Eagles' defensive side. Is Darius Slayton and all the other guys going to have 5, 6, 7 yards to work with? And if that's the case, I could see Daniel Jones making those throws. He's good enough and playing with enough confidence right now to make simple pitch and catch throws if Gannon allows him to do what Andy Dalton did against the New Orleans Saints. At the same time, this defensive front is mean. Mean. Their left side of the line, different. There was once noise about that left tackle going, dude, what in the world was that? Now it's kids balling. That right side of the line, though. Hey, Hassan, you had a beautiful year. Let's keep attacking. Let's keep tacking on to those stats. I think the defensive line is going to show why they had some of the numbers they had sacking some quarterbacks this year. They're going to get hungry. I've listened to a bunch of people that cover the team. And you're always curious, what's the vibe like? They haven't played football in a while. They've been kicking back, relaxing, getting healthy, which is a great spot to be. It's funny, right? Because all season long, you play for the number 1 seed. You want to host every playoff game in your building. You want the bye because you know how beat up these players are at the end of the season. Yet when this time comes around, people try and convince themselves that it's a bad thing. Ooh, but they're not in rhythm. Ooh, but they didn't play last week. Ooh, it's been a while. Yeah. And we had Lane Johnson, who was unable to play, now able to play. We had Jalen Hurts with a shoulder injury, with now in a way better spot with that shoulder injury. I'll take the payout. I'll take the alternative. I'll take that over not going to war, football war, of course, against an opponent in the postseason playing for my life. I'll take the rest. Come on now. You're telling me you'd rather be the Jags than the Kansas City Chiefs? You're telling me you'd rather be the Bengals than the Kansas City Chiefs? You're telling me you'd rather be the Bills and have to play the first weekend than the Chiefs? It's stupidity. That's what it is. But anyway, hearing guys who cover the team, this squad's ready. Okay? This squad is ready. And I fully believe that. And I know that Nick Sirianni, after last year, you have that playoff game, which, look, it's nice that Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni got some of that experience on the road, not just in-game experience, because it clearly got ugly against Tampa Bay last year in the postseason. But I thought one big area that Nick Sirianni can learn from as a first-year head coach last season was, what is the week like leading up to that game? The focus to details. And you do that every week, but obviously everything intensifies when the playoffs are on the line. So the nerves, the adrenaline, the just waking up every day, going to the NovaCare complex, and then you go out there and you get your ass kicked. From a coaching level, the fact that you get a bit of, not redemption because you're playing the same team in the same spot, but just in regards to him. Last year, first year, postseason, got beat up a little bit. Fine. Didn't have the talent. We know that. First year quarterback. A lot of learning curves. We knew that. But now, touchdown favorite, at home, number 1 seed. You're supposed to win. Go do it. Go do what Tampa Bay did to you last year. Make Daniel Jones look like the Daniel Jones previous to what happened in Minnesota. Make Saquon Barkley look like the Saquon Barkley in previous seasons where, he wasn't having this type of year. It's on you to do what Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians did to you last season. And I think he's aware of that. I just want to preface all this by saying we watched that wild card weekend, right? A lot of crazy stuff happened. At the end of the day, though, the team that was better won. Now, it might have not looked the same way you wanted it to look. And I touched on this Monday on my initial reaction to Eagles-Giants. I said something very similar. But I want to make sure that's known. Similar to what I was saying about the Sixers and Doc Rivers throughout the week, if you heard this on the show that I talked about the Sixers squad. You got to remember that there's a flow in a game. The Sixers start the game off hot, up 8. Second quarter, they slow down a little bit. The other team makes a run. Sixers are only up 2 at the half. There's a flow in the game. There might be a sequence where the Eagles go 3 and out 2 times. They go 2 and out. I guess that's a problem. Did we punt on third down? If they go 3 and out twice, some point along the second quarter, there's time to figure out a good drive. Relax, breathe. And within those drives, if the Giants kick a field goal, which then makes a 7-0 game, a 7-3 game, and then the Eagles go 3 out, relax. There's a flow. I'm just saying, that Dallas-Tampa Bay game, it got hideous. But if you remember the first couple of series, there was a feel-out process. There probably a little bit of getting the nerves out process. And then once the game kind of played out, Tampa Bay blows, and you kind of realize that. And Mike Evans and Tom Brady, they're on completely different pages. It looked like guys were running routes, and they were ending up in the same area. One guy messed up their route. It became a mess and super sloppy. I know it's a hostile time. I know the anxiety's going, and you're probably walking around the living room. You're pacing during commercials because it's that type of game. It's playoffs. Everything matters more. I get it. But just realize throughout, it might not look the way that you necessarily want it to look at times. But there's going to be flow within the game. And you got to let the game flow, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. All right. Text board? Sure. Why not? Multiple text, but no names to these. If there was something to go wrong for the Eagles, what do you think it is? How can the Giants pull this off? If the Eagles lose this game, I think we're going to be talking about turnovers. Miles Sanders with the turnover, probably a fumble at some point. Boston Scott had that one turnover, that fumble that was hideous. What was that? That was a Gardner Minshew game, and he just completely fumbled it. And you know they're going to try and give him the football because he is a Giants killer no matter what the Giants coaching staff thinks. He does get in the end zone against this team. So turnovers would be probably number 1 on that list. And then number 2 would be, if Lane Johnson couldn't go and Jack Driscoll slides in, is that enough if everything else is okay to change the trajectory of the game? My honest first initial thought to that question, as I speak about that out loud to myself, is no. If Lane Johnson couldn't go, and that's not to say that there's not a big drop-off in Lane Johnson and Jack Driscoll. You're going from the best tackle in the entire league to a serviceable player. That's no disrespect to Jack Driscoll. That's what he is. He's a serviceable guy that can step in for his role right now. But if you have everything else intact, that's not the difference in the Giants being better than you enough to go into your building at the Link and whoop your ass and win a postseason game. To me, that would be outrageous. So I don't know if Lane Johnson, even though I understand how massive of a loss that would really be, unless if Jack Driscoll's getting beat every play. Jalen Hurts is running for his life. Nothing can get established, and it's one of those, but I don't anticipate that. I'd imagine that Jack Driscoll can do a serviceable job to give this offense still a good opportunity to thrive and to make plays out there. So turnovers is what I think would be there, right? Quez Watkins, somehow he gets a target. He drops it. There's a home run play. Sneaks behind the defenders. 60-yard bomb in the air. We go! You could hear the link deflate. Not that I want to have this conversation right now. I don't want to talk about how the Giants can win, but I think it's a fair question. If the Giants were to win, what do you think would have happened? Well, I think the Eagles probably had some unforced errors and turned the football over. I don't see that happening. At one point this year, they were at such an elite rate at forcing the turnover differential was so extreme. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was picking off the football left and right. We figured at some point it would even back out. But that's something else that we have to talk about. C.J. Gardner-Johnson and his role. Believe it or not, I trust Jonathan Gannon. Based off of what I saw him do at the end of the season with CJ and Reed Blankenship and not the Josiah Scotts of the world, I think that he gets it. I think that he gets it. All right, before we get to the next text, yes, another coffee break. Okay. Who has the better run game in this matchup? I think the Eagles do. Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts, and of course your complimentary backs, I think is better than Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's a big name, and he's had a nice bounce-back season. We didn't know if he'd ever get back to this point in his career. Jalen Hurts is a whole different level of runner than Daniel Jones is. I know Daniel Jones is sneaky quick and sneaky athletic, however you want to label it. Jalen Hurts is all around I think he's a more knowledgeable runner. I think he's a smarter quarterback with the football all around when it comes to the run game. I know Daniel Jones' turnovers has dropped big time since he came into the league to now, which there was a time where he was fumbling almost every single snap, it felt like. Huge difference. He's smarter with the ball now than he was his first year in the league and all that stuff, but I still give it to Hurts, Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell. I like the versatility of what the Eagles can do throughout the board compared to Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Stop Saquon Barkley, limit Saquon Barkley to just having a regular-ass day, and then force Daniel Jones to beat you. You do that, you're in good shape. I have faith in the Eagles' offensive coaching staff. And I think I have faith in Gannon. But I do look at him more. I do. I look at him more in this matchup. We're talking Daniel Jones. Find a way to make him uncomfortable. I don't think that that's necessarily extremely hard to do with this roster and with this talent. If you let him settle in and you let him get comfortable, that's on you. Because there's enough here to make that the complete opposite. And it's on your job to put your players in that position. He shouldn't have wide open throws over the field. He shouldn't have an Andy Dalton-like start where he doesn't miss an entire pass. If he starts off the game with a 7-minute drive and goes 7 for 7, 6 of 7, whatever it is, I'm going to pull my hair out. Because that's on you. That's something you can change. That's something you can force to be different. But I've seen it too many times. But at the end of the day, I still feel extremely confident because roster to roster, way more talent on this team than the Giants. And I think this team has fantastic leadership in Kelsey, in Lane, guys who have been here before, Brandon Graham. It goes a long way. It goes a long way in the preparation, not just physically, but mentally as well. If you had more of a, and I know the head coach and the quarterback are still new at this, but that's where you value the vets who've been there with Doug Peterson, who made some playoff runs, who've been in this organization for a while and understand the importance of this. It evens it all out. Not that I feel Jalen Hurts. I mean, it seems like Jalen Hurts has the coolness and just the approach of a vet who's been playing football for 90 years. Sirianni, yeah, he can go to his up and downs. You know, there was one time this season, he literally said this after the game. I'm not a guy that rides the highs and the lows after games. Coach. What? You? Not riding the highs and lows? Isn't that who you are? Right? Isn't that what you do? You're the personality guy. That's Nick Sirianni. If you told me to describe Nick Sirianni, the word I would use is emotional. I'm not telling you that's right or wrong. This football team is 14-3, and 2 of those games was with a backup quarterback where your backup QB played the worst quarterback performance, arguably, in football history. Remember Nathan Peterson? Was that guy's name who threw like 4 interceptions in the first? I don't remember. Was it the first? I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, Gardner Minshew sucked more than he did. But that's how I would describe you, Nicholas. Do I want to take calls? What are we at here? 27 minutes close to? We'll take one. How's that? Is that fair? We'll take one? All right. Let's do this.
Let's go, him. I'm honestly stoked that we're playing the Giants. I'd rather play them than Tom Brady or the Cowboys. Just because I think the Cowboys have a better team, and who knows if Tom Brady goes back to his prime ways. But, yeah, I'm pretty confident. I mean, everyone's going to say, oh, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. But the second game that we played was our starters versus their backups. So it's not like we actually opened up the playbook and not like they got a lot of tape from that game on us. But, yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I think we could win by 10 to 14 points. I mean, feeling good. But let's go. Fly, Eagles, fly.
All right. Look, the whole myth that it's hard to beat a team 3 times, there's been stats that debunk that all week long. If you're beating an opponent 2 times in the regular season, there's a reason why. More times than not, you're the better football team. So when you see each other again, you're the better football team. This year clearly has an asterisk next to it because of what that Week 18 game was. But, yeah, I'm not worried about seeing them for 3 times. And that's the difference. Once again, I'll say this just like I was talking about with Lane and Jack Driscoll. If you think the difference in this game is having to beat this team for a 3rd time, okay, I'll put it to you this way. If the Eagles played the Chiefs magically 3 times in the regular season, obviously impossible, and the Eagles won twice, they were 2-0, and then they had to go face Andy Reid for a 3rd time, I'd say that seems like a very difficult task. Now, while I would value those 2 wins and say, well, there's a reason why the Eagles won those 2 times, maybe because they're the better football team. But, you know, when 2 teams of that caliber match up over and over and over again, I can get behind it a little bit more. When the Eagles play a team that's a little bit better than middle of the pack, which is what I think the New York Giants are, 3 times, it tells a different story in my eyes. So that's how I kind of describe that one. I'm ready, though, damn it. I'm ready. We got a big game. I'm feeling good. I can't wait. Eagles are going to kick some ass, damn it. Then we'll be moving on to the NFC Championship game. But can't wait for tomorrow night. Whew. That place is going to be rocking. Thank you all so much You're the greatest. I love you. I'll catch you on the next one.